I was just speaking with myself about that I have a divide within myself between my overlord and the Lord, deceased. I'm the overlord speaking, and the Lord deceased is the Godhead you see here, but it's not being created by itself. I'm creating itself as the overlord, and we do have a divide there. The Lord itself doesn't have a name, and I got named by trespassing in my house. Somebody called me Becky, and I answered to the name, and I went into the kitchen, and I was eating with other people at the table. And I just used the name Becky for my whole life because nobody left my house so that I could have my house, and I don't have a name in there. I'm alone in my house. So the name Becky did stay with me for the lifetime, but I'm deceased right here out of the name Becky being named. And I just am myself, none higher than me, deceased. I don't have karma to be here. That's why I didn't name myself. Of course, people ask me my name, I might say my name is Becky or Rebecca, but I don't actually have a name that I gave my name and then I sort of told everybody what my name is like it's a business. That's not true. That's true that the rest of you run your life like it's a business. You tell everybody your name, and you tell them that you have a photo ID to prove what your name is if they don't believe what you say about yourself. Do you tell everybody you have the same name all the time? It's not really an is. Between you and your God, you need to know what your name is, but you don't need to know what your name is between you and somebody who's not yourself. If somebody else in genitals wants to know what your name is, they're not going to hold you responsible for that. You told them whatever your name is between you and your God. That's between you and your God that you have a name. I'm right here saying with my God, myself is none higher than me, deceased. And it's none higher than he, deceased, up there in view that made that possible for me to say that. I do have it in leverage. Becky G, singing in the shower. I think the song's name is Shower. Becky G sings singing in the shower in English, but I think she's Hispanic. And she also speaks Espanol. But the song that I'm talking about is she's singing in English. Singing in the shower. Yeah. And then she also says the 4th of July. I'm Becky, the overlord, and I gave the birthday as the July 4th of year 1980. That's for this body, and if you celebrate the 4th of July, that's myself being in alive, but I don't use that birthday because there are people occupying my house. So I don't really have a holiday for you. 4th of July is optimistic. This just came out of my teeth. I have a broken tooth back here, and it was holding food in there, and I just gave my birthday, and this came out. It's a little unsanitary, but I'm sorry. I don't have a threatening that I am myself here in your favor. I am not. The holiday is not for celebration. You are due deceased to myself. I'm not happy to be here. So I have a difference between myself and the overlord, and I need the overlord deceased, but it looks like it won't be easy to get the overlord deceased in leverage because I have an overlord inside of my house, and I'm not supposed to have an overlord. I am the Lord. I have an overlord because there were trespassers that did break into my house and they were inside my house. and I got an overlord that way, and I got named Becky, which is the name of the overlord, giving the name of this body to somebody else, but it's not my name to myself. I didn't give my name as Becky to somebody else. I don't have a name for this body. It's never been murdered before, and so I didn't have a name for it, that it had been murdered before and it got a name and it still had formed. That's not true. Myself is eternal, and then the body God formed that I came in, the first appearance of myself, that had female genitals on it, but elsewhere I don't have genitals on that same body. So female genitals, I can't solve that. That's an illegal alive of myself and an unclean death of myself I cannot avoid. So, I need to speak now in place of the Lord, because the Lord doesn't have what it takes to answer the questions I am making. I am making questions that I don't know who I am because I don't know who I am around you. But I do hold alive that way, and you are being held responsible for your very well-behaved on money threatening. That means you think you're well-behaved on money, but the God above does challenge your authority with the strangers around yourself who are not yourself, and you are not well-behaved on money around the strangers. They all don't have the same money as you, and you don't have any money in karma because the money belongs to myself. I am the Godhead. All the money is mine, and you have to know that the money is to be frozen in the bank or paid out to myself. And you're not due to generate money in the bank. You're due to have an unclean death on yourself in the nearest possible proximity to yourself. You're not due to make money in the bank and spend it on yourself because you're a psychopathic problem to yourself. That is God not having interest in you being a psychopathic problem, because the soul is alive here. I am alive here. The Lord, the soul, I'm also the king. I'm all the threats in this body. So if you don't have any karma to be here, why are you well behaved on money? If you're avoiding going to prison, why do you want to be close to myself? I've never seen anyone never want to go to prison so hard, and yet you want to be close to myself until you're so escalated in your own personal mind anger that you want me to go to prison in place of yourself. You think I am someone who's threatening to put you in prison is really myself causing you to be evil, and you don't want to go to prison. For that you are yourself evil to myself. You want me to go to prison because you think I'm evil to show that side of yourself to yourself. That's interesting, because you're not very well behaved on money that way. That means it's not your money, it's really in view of yourself. Well, I'm trying to see this overlord of myself is angry with me, and I'm not really stopping the overlord from being angry, but I tell it that I am not going to change myself. The overlord is angry with the Lord, that's true, but the Lord is not going to change. I still think that you are optionally illegal around myself, and you don't have to be there. You're volunteering to be angry with myself because you think that's God inside yourself being angry with myself, and you think you're God to God by agreeing with him. I think you don't know that God doesn't love you when he's angry inside yourself. God is angry isn't angry with somebody. Anger is itself. So what is human anger and what is God anger? If God is angry with a human and a human is angry with a human, why is it still called anger? God has anger, the human has anger. Why is it still called anger? Isn't anger implying that it's really God who's angry? Well, when I'm angry, you don't believe me because I have 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth just like you. You never believe. I've shouted myself, and I don't know anyone who's ever feared that I shouted and said they were sorry to God and dropped dead. You're hideous people that you survived that I shouted. I did not survive that I shouted. It's shouted that I have an unclean death on myself by my illegal alive female genitals. They're shouted. And you want to put me in jail for shouted. And I don't understand that. It's shouted because I have genitals and alive on myself, and you want to put me in jail and prison and execute myself so that I don't shout at you. It really wouldn't be that I would get a death on your point. I would not go into a jail and prison and die because I shouted in front of you. You really think I did you wrong as God and that you want to put me in jail away from yourself, like saying, get out and I don't have a choice. I'm locked up somewhere. That's so hysterical. I am shouted that my genitals are illegally alive and I have an unclean death on myself, and I know why. And you actually don't want me to know why. No, you don't. You want to abduct me away from that. I know why I shouted and put me in a jail and prison because I didn't shout at myself in the mirror and nobody heard me. As if I have a mirror to shout at. That's what this is about. You stole everything, including the bathroom mirror.